Hey everybody, welcome back to another video here. Going to be doing a little bit of a trading journal, trade breakdown recap. This one actually being one of my losing trades. And I wanted to kind of share my thoughts and recap it with you. I like to do this on trades occasionally. It makes for good content, I think, for people who are newer to this stuff, but it also just is good for me personally to kind of internalize, as cliche as that sounds, but kind of just internalize my losses and understand either what I did wrong if I made a mistake, or just accepting when a trade just doesn't work, scrap it and move on. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about a trade that I took here on dollar Canadian. This is USDCAD, and we're going to talk a little bit about why I entered the trade and how I ended up taking a loss on this position. So what I actually did is I ended up getting long, and I'm going to show you exactly where I got long, and I'm going to show you why. So we saw dollar Canadian forming these nice higher lows. So you can see we came down here, we formed a low, and then we kind of made a push off of that level. We saw the retest, and I really liked that we saw a lot of buy pressure here off of this next low. Okay, so we've got two lows here. We saw price starting to form this reversal. Then we shoot to the upside off of this. Lots of bullishness, but a lot of strength here. We consolidate a little bit, and sure enough, we put in what I was really looking for right here, which is a higher low, a pretty significant higher low too. So we saw price come back, retest this line, and this is where I drew my trend line. So this is not where I got in, but this is what was leading up to me deciding to take a buy trade on USDCAD, and we'll talk a little bit about it in just a second, how it actually turned out. So what we were looking for here is I saw price making a move and holding this level of resistance. My idea here, basically on the retest of this trend line again, I wanted to get long, looking to see if we could just go back up to this point again and maybe even kind of move past it. Now the reason you might say, well, Nick, it's got double top resistance. Why would you take a buy here? It's got to be, not going to work out, right? Well, it's easier in hindsight than in actual real time. As many of you know, anybody can talk about stuff in hindsight like they're a genius, but it's not as easy when you're actually in the moment. So what I liked about this is the fact that we had these higher lows, the fact that we had signs of bullishness here, to me looked like we were going to be able to head back to this level, if not even break past it, to continue this trend that we were seeing forming on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so as price starts to pull back, this is where I basically was looking to actually get long. On the retest of this trend line once more, I wanted to look for bullish continuation in favor of this higher low forming uptrend market, with the idea that we could break through this consolidation and break to the upside, see if we can get a nice continuation trade there. And for starters, it actually worked out really nice. Our entry was actually pretty dang spot on. I got into the market right around here, and for the next, 5 bars or so, we saw some nice continuation. So I was actually in profit here on USDCAD. I didn't move stops, I didn't do anything with my trade, I just let it keep going. And sure enough, we actually came back to retest this moment right here, which this is where the trade actually started to go south, started to not do its thing. So we started to see price making its move back underneath this trend line. And this is where things were starting to look weak to me, because we can take a look at this objectively and notice that, okay, yes, we did bounce off of this support level, and my entry again was right around here. So I was entered into this market pretty good. We saw the rally and that was great, but then when we failed to keep going higher, that was a very bearish indication. The fact that we couldn't keep going and hold it like we did here. Notice how when price comes down to the trend line here, we saw an immediate rally. We saw a lot of strength as buyers stepped in. We did not see the same scenario play out this time when I had gotten into the market. And a lot of times people will get caught up on this. They'll say, oh, the market always does this to me. It looks like it's going to do something and it looks really good historically. And then as soon as I try and do it, the market goes against me and it doesn't work. And we can do that as traders, or we can accept that the market doesn't really care about us. We're such small money in this market. It really is not trying to hunt us or do anything like that. They don't really care about the tiny money that you and I have compared to the broader trillions and trillions of dollars being traded in the foreign exchange market every day. So as price bounced off of this, again, started out good, but then it did not work out. It failed. We saw this price start to roll over, and when we started to close underneath this trend line, that's where I really stopped liking this trade. and ended up closing this trade for a loss. So I closed around somewhere in here, taking a loss on this trade. Basically just didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that it wasn't, and I actually sent that notification out to members. I sent out, I'm closing this trade for below break even. I think I took a small loss on this trade, something like that, and got out of this position. Now, again, I didn't like the way the trade was playing out. So how did I decide to get out of a trade, which ultimately actually has gone now lower? Notice something kind of cool about this too. That trend line, I didn't catch this trade, but now it would have actually been a great short because of this failure, because of the same reasons that I got out of the trade, purely just reading the price action, seeing the way this market was reacting to this failure of buyers to step up and push this price higher. That's actually a really bearish signal to me now. And especially now that we've seen the retest, head back to that trend line and look at this. Failure, really quick disrespect from the bears who said, nope, this trend line is ours now. We basically control this, sending the price back lower. So this is kind of interesting because I'm glad that I got out of the trade, and I did take a loss, but at least I closed out when I did, moving on from this trade and looking for new opportunities. I think that a lot of times what happens to a lot of traders is we marry our positions. We think that this market has to do what we want, otherwise it's going to make us feel like an idiot and we don't want to be wrong. I don't know about you guys, but I struggle with that personally too. We all kind of have this ego to us that tells us we want to be right no matter what. We can't view things objectively sometimes because we want to be right so bad. And so in this case, I was purely incorrect about my trade. It just didn't work out. And that's where it brings me to my next point. A lot of times when you analyze a loser, it's important to ask yourself, was it a bad decision for me to take this trade, or did it just not work out? And in this case, I actually still like this trade setup. I think that it was a pretty decent one, especially considering for the beginning of the trade, it was going really well. So I think it was not a mistake to take this trade. And I think that a lot of times when I post up these videos about losing, you'll see in the comments a lot of times, anytime I post a loser, you get people who tell me in hindsight, well, you shouldn't have taken a buy trade because of the double top, because of look at this trend or look at this indicator or look at that. At any given time, though, in hindsight, you can tell someone what's going to happen because you already know what's happening, right? It's very hard to call things in real time, and everybody there's always one indicator that says buy and always one indicator that says sell. So if you just cherry pick which one you're looking at in hindsight, it's never good for you. So it's important when you analyze your own losers, when you guys are looking at your losers, which I encourage you to do, understand and accept that there is such thing as a trade that you take that met your rules, that was all good, the risk management seems solid, and it just didn't work out. There's a difference between taking a stupid trade, like chasing a price that's clearly, just an emotional, trade for you, and you put too much position side. Those, in my opinion, are trading mistakes. So again, big positions are bad. Those are mistakes. Chasing, right? And there's a whole list of things that you can do that are mistakes. So if you're chasing prices, if you're putting on way too much size on your trade, those are mistakes. But it's different than just a trade that didn't work out. And in this case, that's what this is. This was not a mistake to take this trade. And I know that people, again, in comment section, trust me, the life of a YouTuber, sharing this stuff, a lot of times I get comments that are like, oh, well, Nick, you idiot, you should have done this and you should have done that. And living in like that hindsight land does not make me a better trader. And so honestly, I actually kind of avoid the comment sections on these sort of videos purely because as a trader, I don't want it to let it get to my head and, feel a lower, confidence on my trading, right? So it's important. You'll hear that from other people if you are in communities, if you're in chat rooms, if you have friends that trade. Sometimes people will tell you in hindsight what you should have done. And it's important to kind of ask yourself, was this a trading mistake or was it just a trade that didn't work out? In this case, I did take a negative trade. I lost money on this trade, but it was not the end of the world and it was not a trading mistake. It was actually just a trade that did not work out. And in fact, I find it really interesting with my analysis, as I mentioned, that the same trend line that I had drawn basically ended up becoming a strong level of resistance. And I wish I had caught that trade because now it would have been beautiful. But we can't live in the world of wish or should have or could have or if or all those sort of words that actually don't do you a dang thing when it comes to actually trading your own financial money. Can't look hindsight, can't say I wish, I should have, I could have. Doesn't do you any good. At the end of the day, it's very important to analyze your losses objectively as well as your wins objectively. Did you stick to your plan? Did you do your thing? Do it again. Go find better setups. Don't worry too much about losses, and that's what I'm going to do. So guys, have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for watching. Do leave a comment if you would like to about what you think about my trade. Feel free to disagree with my opinion. Like I said, I'm confident in my trades here, and I took a loss, and that is what it is. I don't think I made any trading mistakes, but I'm sure that there will be people who disagree with that, and that's okay. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back in the next video.